Well, sports professor Rick Horrow, Beyond the Scoreboard, Inside the Boardroom. We're here at the 10th Annual Primetime Sports Conference. The Brain Trust, Trevor Whiffen, along with Brian Burke, set this conference up. It's become the definitive conference of sports business, sports law in Canada and North America, and it always is around the NHL Hockey Hall of Fame induction, which is a big deal. But today, we're not talking about that. We're talking about something that some people, for the Americans in the audience, will be referred to this organization that he deals with, the London Knights and the Ontario Hockey Association and minor league hockey in Canada, junior hockey broadly defined, the SEC of Canada, the SEC in America. This is even more passionate. So, Trevor, thank you for being here.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
And the bottom line, one of the stats, and then you're going to give me 48 stats of your own, 37 former London Knight players played in the NHL last year, more than any other club team in the world. That's pretty stout.
When you think about that, that's almost two entire lineups in the NHL are made up completely of former players for our team. So they've been great ambassadors for our team, our city, our program, and the Ontario Hockey League in general.
Well, the Ontario Hockey League, we'll get into that whole culture, but London is a town of how many people?
About 370,000 people.
And the legacy of the London Knights is pretty significant.
Oh yeah, well the team is in its 52nd year. We've had a ton of high-profile players come through the program over the years. Rob Ramich, Brad Marsh, Dino Ciccarelli, Daryl Sittler, lots of Hall of Famers. And in recent years, of course, we've enjoyed really remarkable success in terms of sending players on to the next level. We've had 54 players drafted by the NHL in the last 15 seasons.
All-star team, you take them today and they probably beat the heck out of any other team in the NHL. It's kind of interesting.
Maybe.
Don't know. He's not
well, if you put Pat Kane, John Tavares, Corey Perry, and Rick Nash on your forward line, that's a lot of goals right there.
There you go. That's an answer too. How did the mystique of the London Knights come to be, at least in the modern era?
Well, I think that when Mark and Dale Hunter and Basil McRae purchased the team in 2000, it was a real changing of the guard with the London Knights. The London Knights, up till that point, had been a bit of a bottom feeder in the league for a couple of years. And when Mark, Basil, and Dale Hunter took over the team, it was now owned by former NHL players that had played a combined, I think, 47 years in the National Hockey League between the three of them. These guys knew everything there was to know about running an organization and how to train and act and play like a pro. And I think it made two of them were captains in the National Hockey League, and one of them won a Stanley Cup. So they knew everything about how to run a pro program, and they run it like a pro program. And the proof is in the pudding that in the 15 years since they bought the team, we've had 4 players drafted, 17 in the first round, 3 first overall picks, and we have more players in the National Hockey League than any club team really ever has had.
But that's only part of the story. So London, about 300,000 people. It's a couple hours from Toronto.
2 hours, yeah.
2 hours. But it's the Ontario Junior Hockey Association and junior hockey in Canada generally. It's cult. It's something that people have analogized to the SEC in American football. Why so?
Well, it's the principal feeder league for the National Hockey League. The Ontario Hockey League sends more players to the National Hockey League through the draft every year, more than any other league anywhere in the world. So that's part of the comparison with the SEC. We have more high-end players. The Canadian Olympic team, half of it is typically composed of Ontario Hockey League graduates. So there's a rich legacy. Eric Lindros, Wayne Gretzky, Bobby Orr, all came through our league.
Names get better.
Those are icons.
Yeah.
In the hockey world. So they've all come through our league and they've all left their mark. And when you've had that kind of history, it helps to attract good players. Like Patrick Kane was an American in Buffalo who probably didn't know a whole lot about the OHL when he was growing up because he had his sights on an NCAA career. But when he found out about the history of the Ontario Hockey League, we were fortunate. We had drafted him and we were fortunate to convince him to come. And he ended up scoring 60 goals as a rookie and was drafted first overall by Chicago.
When you draft players, the competition is to get them to come to you versus college, or what's the biggest?
Well, it's a typical draft where the bottom team in your league drafts first. Right. We do fairly well most years, so we typically draft late. But we drafted Mitch Marner, for example, who was a runner-up for Rookie of the Year in the NHL last year. We took him 20th. 19 teams in our league passed on him before we took him. He was a small player, high-end skill, and we thought if he can compete as a major midget player, a minor midget player, against the other guys that are being drafted, if he can compete against them now, he can compete against them next year. So we took a chance on him, and he ended up having a 61-point season with the Maple Leafs last year and set a rookie record. The team's been around for 100 years, and he set a rookie record for assists by a rookie in a franchise that's been around 100 years. So we've been very fortunate to be able to continue to attract good players, but it's through a draft. We do have the limited ability to recruit free agents the same way all other teams in our league do, and we've had some success in that regard too.
A limited number? How do you do
Well,
it?
there is no quota that you can have, but the chances of somebody coming into your league and being an impact player that was not drafted in your league is about the same chance as a guy coming to the NHL and being an impact player having not been drafted in the NHL.
Got it.
The best 16, 17-year-olds are typically seen by somebody and are drafted into the Ontario Hockey League, and so it's unusual to have a free agent signing.
Perspective as the owner, get off the ice for a second and talk about the business. What are the metrics of running a successful Ontario Hockey League team?
Well, we've been fortunate in that regard as well. In a league where the average attendance is about 3,400, we attract 9,090 game in and game out for the last 15 years. Like, we have virtually sold out almost every single game for the last 15 years. There was one night when the snowstorm was so bad in London that the police warned people not to go out. The buses stopped running, the malls closed, and we still had 8,900 people come to our game.
Where were the other 400?
Watching on TV, I'm sure. We've got a really strong following in London, and geographically, London is situated like 2 hours from Toronto, 2 hours from Detroit. So you kind of make your own entertainment in London, because the big cities are a significant drive away. So you're not, commuting into Toronto all the time to see a concert or see a hockey game. You're seeing things in London. So London is, we have a great rink. We have strong support from the community and from the corporate world there. And getting a ticket to a game in London is as hard to get in London as a Maple Leaf ticket is here in Toronto.
Again, only part of the story, because there are a lot of cities in North America that are halfway between other cities, but you offer an entertaining package in a relatively new arena that caused people to go and cheer and have fun.
Well, and you'll appreciate this as a facilities expert, we built it downtown. Yeah. And we didn't build it out in the hinterland with lots of parking and expect people to come. It was built, like the old rink was out in the hinterland south of the major highway, which made it hard for people in the north end of the town to get to a game. There was no beltway around the city, so it was about a 40-minute drive from the north end of town to get to the old rink, which was a decrepit arena. Had charm, but it was